Greetings, folks. It's a dark day for our friends across the pond in the United Kingdom, and quite frankly, it's a dark day for any internet user. Long story short, the United Kingdom government demanded that Apple put in a backdoor to their advanced data protection feature, which provided end-to-end encryption for Apple users. And rather than complying with that order to create a backdoor that would allow the UK government and potentially other actors to have access to user data, Apple has simply disabled Advanced Data Protection, or ADP, in the United Kingdom. And I commend Apple for refusing to implement the backdoor. I have many critiques of that company, but this was probably the best thing they could have done in the situation. So if you're an Apple user, you're probably asking yourself, what should I do now if I want to make sure that my data cannot be accessed by anybody, whether that be a government or a hacker or some company that wants to mine it to be able to sell me more ads? Well, the good news is that encryption is not something unique to Apple. Encryption is just math. You can run your own encryption on your device. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you one simple example of an encryption tool that works very nicely on any computer, on any phone, and will allow you to turn any cloud storage provider into a end-to-end encrypted cloud storage solution. And after that, I'm also going to talk more about how you should handle end-to-end encryption if you have files on a home server. And I think that's important because given the direction things are going, I think it's increasingly important that everyone consider starting up their own home server and owning their files on their own devices and simply backing up to a external storage solution or a cloud storage solution. So the tool that I was referring to is called Cryptomator. It's available on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and basically it's going to let you create an encrypted vault that you can then put in your cloud storage solution, and it'll encrypt and decrypt the files on the fly on your device as you're using them. So let me show you how to get started with this. So if we open up Cryptomator or Cryptomator, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. What you're going to want to do is create a new vault, give it whatever name you want. Now, what you're going to do here is choose the location of your cloud storage solution. So if you have something like a Google Drive, where there's a Google Drive folder on your computer or something along those lines, you're going to want to store the vault in that location. You're going to pick a strong password, a strong, complicated password, maybe, better yet, a passphrase, a series of random words separated by different characters and with numbers and so forth mixed in. The strength of your encryption is directly proportional to the complexity of your password. But for testing, we'll go with something simple and memorable. Remember, the thing about encryption is that if you lose the keys, you lose the data. So if you lose this password, this information is gone. So please save this in your password manager or back it up somewhere, or generate a recovery key as you see in this option here. And then you can unlock. Put in your password, and there you see the files or the vault that you have now created. So if we generate a new file in this vault, then we go and we lock the vault. We have to actually leave the vault before we can do that. we can now see what was actually stored on our device. So if we go over here to the location where we have the vault, as you can see, this is just like random data. Not much data because I only put like a tiny text file in there. But this is all completely encrypted, and you'll not be able to read any of the data that we put in. If you want to then open this back up, it's as simple as going to unlock. And now we're able to access the data that we put in. So I hope you see the utility here that you can basically run your own encryption. Now, some honorable mentions: if you're on Linux and you're not looking for a cloud storage solution, but more of just a backup, I will give a shout out to DejaDupe. And what this is an application where you can connect to cloud storage providers like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, and create fully encrypted backups to these cloud storage solutions. But to be clear, it is a backup, it's not a sync. So you wouldn't be able to then access these files on a different device. So I said I would talk more about how to handle encryption when you're hosting files on your own server. So this is my TrueNAS server. It's running on an old computer just in my house. I actually don't host the majority of my files on here. A lot of my use case for work is non-sensitive, and so it's running on a VPS, virtual private server, that's running Nextcloud. But for my personal files and sensitive files, I hold them on this computer here. So to access those files over the web, you will need some sort of application that serves them up. I mentioned TrueNAS, but the simplest one that I've seen is a file browser. I'm not going to click around in here too much because you don't need to see all my files, but this interface basically acts like, like a cloud storage solution. You can upload and download files to and from the server as needed. Now, if we want to handle encryption, we go to the data protection setting here and then cloud sync tasks. And this is pretty easy to set up once you have your TrueNAS server up and running, and there are tons of tutorials on how to do that on the internet if this is the direction you want to go. But what you'll see is that all of the files in this pool, and I have multiple different pools on this server, are being pushed to Backblaze on a daily basis in this case. And I'm using Backblaze B2, which allows you to push your files to the cloud using a file transfer protocol rather than having an app. But one of the cool things that TrueNAS will do is you can set it up so that it'll encrypt the files before it pushes them to the cloud. So they may be unencrypted on your local device, but they get encrypted before they go to someone else's server. So if we go over to Backblaze, you can see this is what's actually on their servers, and it's all encrypted. But I do have the encryption keys, so if I needed to restore from this backup, I could pull this all down, unencrypt it, and have my files back. And TrueNAS has built-in mechanisms to do that easily in the web UI. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful and provided some thoughts or suggestions for you Apple refugees. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, folks.